the business of sports a lot in your in Huddle Up. Do you just want to give our audience a quick little rundown what Huddle Up is and how you got your start?
Yeah, so I do a variety of things. Huddle Up is one of them for sure, and kind of takes up the majority of the time, I would say. But Huddle Up is a newsletter. It is delivered to your inbox every day, Monday through Friday, and it covers the business of sports. The money and business behind sports is our tagline. And really what it was just born out of passion. I grew up with 4 brothers. We played every sport you could imagine, the 5 of us: basketball, football, baseball, tried golf, everything you could imagine, really. And I thought I wanted to be a professional athlete at first, of course, like everyone. That was very quickly obvious that wasn't going to happen. And then I wanted to be a agent. I wanted to be a sports agent. And I realized pretty quickly again that wasn't what I was going to happen. I actually spent some time at Octagon Sports Agency in Washington, D.C. I did an internship there in college. And I realized, hey, you know what, this probably isn't for me, right? It's really difficult to break into the business unless you know someone or you have some kind of connection. And then therefore it's kind of the top 1% of everyone does well, right? So it's a numbers game to some degree, and just wasn't really what I wanted to do after learning more about it. So I went up to New York City and I started working in finance. I worked at JP Morgan for the last 4 to 5 years, and I was on the fixed income trading desk, and I learned a lot about kind of not only financial markets, but just business in general, right? And what I found myself interested in was a mix of both. I started looking into, hey, how does this team make money? How does this league make money? Why does the player do an endorsement deal with this company versus the other company? Why are they doing X over Z over Y, and so forth? And I was constantly telling my friends and other people about it, and family members. And eventually my girlfriend, now fiance, was just like, why don't you just write a newsletter about it, right? And to be honest, at first it was literally, I was just finding stuff that I thought was interesting or cool, articles, links, videos, etc. And I was putting it in an email and I was sending it to people. And then it turned into, okay, here's the article, here's my opinion or take on it. And then it turned into this kind of hybrid model where I still do something similar, but it's much less structured, and it's kind of just my unfiltered opinions on the topics around business and sports. And I always joke about it. Really what it was just my curiosity, and it still is today. People always try to pigeonhole individuals into these categories and say, you talk about this niche and you're only supposed to cover the NFL and you only talk about the business of the NFL. And the reality is I write about everything. I talk about these things. I podcast about them. I make videos about them. And it's just things that I'm interested about. So it could be one day a player contract in the NFL, and then the next day it is, this NFT company raised $100 million, right? It's just things that I find interesting across business, culture, crypto, sports, etc. And I talk about them. And my bet is that there's tons of individuals, millions of individuals around the world that are just as interested in these topics as I am. And I've been doing it for about a year or two now. And it's gone well. I do it full time now. I invest alongside of it, probably spend about 50% of my time creating content and 50% investing. And what's really helped is the audience, right? You see access to additional deals on the venture side, and all these doors and these opportunities get opened. But it's been an incredible shift and something that I'm really happy with and really proud of.
Wow. I love that story about leading your curiosity. I mean, that's very similar to Cuts, working at an advertising agency and couldn't find something to wear, and let my curiosity lead me to starting Cuts. And one thing I wanted to ask you on that is, was there a moment in time you felt like a story why you decided to leave corporate America, specifically JP Morgan, and say, hey, was there a defining moment you could share?
Yeah, I don't know if there was one specific moment, but I do know that there was a specific thought. And the thought was, I always looked to my left and to my right when I was at work. And I always thought to myself, like, is this something that you want to do when you're 50 years old, when you're 60 years old? And is this something that you're going to be happy with, irrespective of money, right? Money obviously plays a part of the equation. And I think people are naive to dismiss it completely. But just from like a pure kind of work standpoint, the quality of the work, the context of the work, all of that, is this something that you're going to enjoy doing? Is this something that you're going to be proud of, and so forth? And the answer to me over time and pretty early on was no, right? The second I started realizing what mattered more in life and started thinking about it more, it was no. And I looked again to my right and to my left, and I realized that there were people I was working with that were 45, 55, 65 years old and were doing similar jobs or similar things that I was doing. And again, that's not a knock on any of them, because I think that everyone asks themselves this question at some point. And like, some people have different reasons, right? Maybe that is the best thing that they can do to provide for their family and so forth. Maybe that's something that they really enjoy. And again, there's a million reasons, but ultimately for me, the answer was no. So I started thinking about, what am I passionate about, right? Because the cliche around you have to be passionate about something to succeed is certainly a cliche. And I think it's probably overused to some degree, but more so, I think that you have to have this relentless effort and push and drive to be successful at what you want. And naturally, the things that you have that relentless effort and push and drive to be good at, you're going to be passionate about, right? So I knew that I was passionate about sports and the intersection of business and crypto and culture and all these things. And it was something that I really loved. And it was something that I didn't feel like I was working when I was doing. So I knew that if I had that passion around that the work ethic and the drive and the consistency and the push would come along with it, that would make me successful.